Well, after a long summer's break, we are finally back racing in the 2025 Euroformula Open Championship as we head to the Styrian Mountains here in Austria for round 6 of the championship, qualifying to kick us off for the weekend. We've arrived on Saturday after a busy free practice, well, a couple of free practice sessions. We'll get to those times shortly. Air temperature sat at 15 degrees. Track temperature also matching too, with humidity continued to decline after the sharp and hard rainfall we had late yesterday evening. But now it is all dry and the sunshine, which should be with us right through the weekend as well, and especially today, where we could see some higher temperatures heading into this afternoon. Timek Kaharczyk alluding to those free practice times. Fastest for BVM in both sessions. First of all with the 124.188, and then the second session FP2 124.415. The first session being the faster one, of course. And he lines up once again for BVM, fresh after they spent a great deal of August testing ahead of this round. And introducing a new driver by the name of Alessandro Famularo, the Venezuelan stepping in, of course, this weekend. The 22-year-old from Caracas in Venezuela, who was raced in Italian F4 in 2 sequential years, ADAC F4 as well in 2019 as well. It was 2018 and 2019 in the Italian F4 Championship, also taking part in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine in 2020 and 2021, and also 2 starts in FIA Formula 3 as well that same, well, 2022, year after the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. We also introduced at Team Motor Park Luca Vișoranu from Romania, also taking part in the Rookie Trophy as well. The 16-year-old who has taken part in Italian F4 last season, as well as the F4 Central European Zone that same campaign, and then E4 that same year too. Italian F4 is where he has been briefly for 2025, but now stepping into F3 machinery this season. And Nielsen Racing also with some new faces. They've introduced Francisco Soldavini, the Argentinian, stepping in as well. The 18-year-old from La Cumbra in Argentina, racing in Italian F4 back in 2022, also with Spanish F4, a dual campaign there. And you can also add a trio if you add the Brazilian F4 Championship. Has also taken part in Ultimate Cup in the F3R back in 2023 with 1 win against his name, coupled with the 3 podiums, and also Freca in 2023 as well. And has also recently, as soon as last year, Ultimate Cup, has taken 3rd in that championship, that campaign too. Moving down the list, we also have Qualy Baptista coming in at Nielsen Racing, so 2 fresh faces for the Nielsen team. The young Brazilian stepping up, and of course there's been quite the wave of Brazilians coming through motorsports, of course alluding to Rafael Câmara. Of course now we've got Qualy Baptista, the 17-year-old Brazilian who has taken part in Formula Winter Series this year, and also Brazilian F4. And we welcome him also to F3 machinery for the first time. George Morgan here in the commentary box. Joining me once again, as always, it's Chris Stevens. How are you doing, Chris?
Hello, George. Yes, lots of lovely young, fresh faces here in the Euroformula Open Championship. And one for good reason as well, which is that Fernando Barrichello is taking part in FIA Formula 3 in Monza this weekend. So hence Luca Vișoranu's arrival into the championship, and just filling in for him in what is anticipated to be a full season with the AIX team in Formula 3 next year. And also congratulations, Yevon David. He's got his full season drive in FIA Formula 3 sorted for next year with AIX. Just had a brief chat with him about it yesterday. He said it's very nice to just get that box ticked and he can put full focus on fighting for the championship. And it is a 3-way fight between Timek Kaharczyk, Yevon David and Michael Shin. All 3 of them had some sort of drama in Paul Ricard, and this man, Michael Shin, had probably the most bizarre of them all when his front wing fell off going into the hotel chicane. I did get a post-race explanation for that, which was that those floppy markers that were on the exit of Scene Corner to make track limits a little bit clearer, he struck one of those at some point in the race, and that is what loosened the front wing and then ultimately led it to failing. Of course, we didn't see the first part of that, but we did see the consequence of what happened when the front wing fell off. And yeah, very bizarre moment, but luckily no structural issues with the car or anything like that. It was just hitting those markers at a very fast point on the racetrack. Michael Shin on his first push lap here in this session. I feel the need, before we get too far into the session, to point out anyone who saw the entry list and saw Ricardo Baptista on the name, who we're referring to as Kaji Baptista. It's the nickname he prefers. And also, for the sake of just not having confusion. It's not the Ricardo Baptista who has been racing in GT for a very long time and a multiple champion over in Brazil, and in fact raced with the International GT Open, a fellow GT Sport series a few years ago. It is in fact his son. So Kaji Baptista, we're going to be calling him. He joins Nielsen Racing for this weekend. 2 new drivers, but still Ed Pearson as the sort of quote-unquote lead driver in that car.
And we also mark a whole year now, Chris, where, of course, Ed Pearson, Jose Garfias debuted at this very circuit a year ago. Obviously, conditions were very different last year. It was soaking. And we also marked the anniversary of Fernando Barrichello's first win in the Euroformula Open Championship. Of course, not here this weekend, as we all know, of course, racing in Formula 3. But like we said, obviously, it's amazing to hear that he is now going to make that progression up through the F3 ladder, now this time taking part in FIA Formula 3 for next season. You mentioned Yevon David as well, obviously looking to stamp his authority on the F3 grid next season. Has had a great campaign here, and obviously still a title to be decided as Michael Shin comes across the line, goes fastest in the initial. We'll also see Jose Garfias take the stripe, second fastest with a 1:25.128. Diego Della Torre, his fellow countryman, also about to come across the line. Also Everett Stack now finding more time, and of course this is the progression we will see right through the session. Still very early goings so far, of course. 13 minutes and 20 before we decide who's on pole for the first race of the weekend. Remember, of course, 2 reverse races also to bring you. We've got the reverse Qualy grid. Remember, the top 6 in Qualy will be reversed for a race as well this weekend, and also the top 6 from the first race will be reversed also for another race that we have this weekend. So plenty of opportunities for various drivers across the grid as Everett Stack goes third fastest.
The American driver, 1:24.9 for him. Bit of smoke as the plank runs over that horrible sausage curve on the outside of turn 1. There's another one at turn 3 as well. It's not so much a problem for the GT and touring cars that are racing here this weekend, but for these single-seaters, it does pose a few problems as Michael Shin continues to pump in purple sectors in the early stages of this qualifying session. Was just putting some laps on a set of tyres for now. There will be a second run later on for, I would imagine, the majority. If anyone wants to try and save a set, that's their prerogative, of course, but it's a 24.25.7 for Michael Shin, which is not yet the fastest time of the weekend, but the South Korean getting the quick laps in early here in this session.
Yeah, of course, we just briefly saw as well Championship CEO, GT Sports CEO, of course, Jesus Pereira, watching from the Motor Park garage. Is obviously there's been a grand bit of growth now in the Euroformula Open in recent campaigns. Obviously, we allude back to drivers that have come, past and present. Of course, I was looking back at some of the numbers, actually, which was unbelievable. We date back all the way to 2014 when this series first started. Our first race, actually, our first weekend here at Red Bull Ring dated back at the year after, 2015. Vitor Baptista actually winning both races for RP Motorsport, or taking pole for both races in RP Motorsport. He won race 2. Leonardo Polcini, though, however, was the winner in the first race for DAV Racing. But if you really want a little bit of trivia as well for you, Colton Herter, who there's been many talks about him lately, obviously becoming an F2 driver in the FIA Formula 2 Championship. Of course, there's been so much discussion around the Cadillac entry coming into Formula 1 as of late. Colton Herter went right through the card back in 2016, pole in race 1 and 2, and then went from lights to flag to take victory in both races for Carlin Motorsport. So there we have it. We've had a storied history. Other names like Jack Crawford, Marino Sato as well. Of course, Oliver Goethe in recent times, who's racing in FIA Formula 2 as well. And, of course, Brad Benavides, who won race 1 here at this circuit last year. Well, he took pole position at Monza this weekend in the FIA Formula 3 Championship at Monza.
There's that puff of smoke again for Everett Stack, putting 2 wheels behind the yellow curb, and that will be considered a track limits breach. Here's the ruling at turns 1 and 3 for this weekend. 2 wheels behind the yellow curb is track limits. Luca Vicerini there, the Romanian driver, just 16 years old in his first race in Formula 3 level competition, having competed in Italian and F4 and Euro 4 for this season. A very young hopeful with an awful lot to learn here in this qualifying session. I'm sure the learning curve was unbelievably steep during the 2 free practice sessions yesterday, but a fresh set of Pirelli rubber going on Michael Shin's car. And for the majority of the motorsport team down there at the moment as well.
Of course, Michael Shin has taken 2 first places so far this campaign, and the podiums have stretched to 8 so far this season. Pole position only once, though, however, through this long run through to the tail end of the championship. Of course, with Michael Shin, that obviously the results have been very strong. We date back to Portimao, where, of course, he went right through the car, finishing second, trying to chase that elusive first race win. It eventually came at Hockenheim, of course, in the very first race of the weekend, taking the fastest lap that time out. Of course, a winner back at Hungaroring as well in race 2. But currently sits third in the championship. 212 points is the net amount that he's got against his name, and the total amount. Obviously, remember, we do have drop scores coming into play at the end of the campaign as well, just to make things ultra spicy when we venture into Monza. But Timek Archik still the man to catch, and 17 points clear of Yevon David at this stage.
So it looks like Pearson and Kaharczyk are only doing 1 push run in this session, because Pearson's lap time currently is 13 seconds off the pace, 8 minutes to go. So it looks like just the 1 push run for Pearson and potentially for Kaharczyk as well. He's down in 11th at the moment, and fortunately for Pearson, I think he did just manage to beat out all this traffic that is sort of squabbling for track position at the moment. But Pearson on a build lap, so to speak, still generating the heat in the Pirellis. I saw that temperature gauge say 15 degrees. The air temperature is also saying 16 degrees at the moment, but that whatever sensor that is, it must be in the shade, because in direct sunlight, I'll tell you right now, it's not 16 degrees outside.
Doesn't feel 16.
No, it is not.
It does not feel like that at all. I can tell you that. Tell you right now, folks. 7 minutes and 40 to go. Then things will start to heat up pretty quickly. Obviously, drivers have already come in for a rethink, and they're obviously going to put, maybe even consider putting in the new tyres. We did see a few changes in the pit lane earlier on. Yevon David will now be looking to roar for the nation of Sri Lanka. Of course, the first ever Sri Lankan single-seater race winner on record, and looking to continue to break records now as he looks to climb the feeder series ladder. Of course, many of the drivers have ambitions to enter Formula One, and of course, Yevon David has certainly made no qualms and has spoken about how inspirational his hero Lewis Hamilton has been in the past as well. And obviously he has ambitions in his own mind to try and place down and lay down his own success on his run up through the tier systems. And here in the Euroformula Open has certainly proven that he can race and win amongst the very best. There is Timek Kaharczyk, though, who is going to be fighting him tooth and nail for this season's championship crown, and has gone purple straight away in the first sector. The middle sector not purple, but green, and has found more time against Michael Shin's fastest lap so far. So Timek Kaharczyk looking to enter the fold for the first time, down in 10th place right now. This would see him shoot right up the order from near enough the back to the front as he looks to displace Michael Shin with 6 minutes and 20 or so to go. Famularo goes 7th, and now Kaharczyk roars to the top, and 87 thousandths ahead of Michael Shin in first place.
Great stuff there from Kaharczyk, and looks like he and Pearson are going to save a set of tyres for the races. We'll be able to confirm that in the break between qualifying and the first race of the weekend, which will be coming up this afternoon. Still waiting to see a proper push lap from Pearson, but Kaharczyk, who's dominated proceedings so far this weekend, fastest in both the free practice sessions, now hits the front and didn't quite manage to match his first sector time just now, but very close to it indeed. Downhill braking into turn 4, that BVM racing run machine. As the rest of these guys look to start to build up towards laps as well. Yevon David going through, blue flags being waved there for Francisco Soldavini. Slowly on the inside. curious to see what Soldovini's plans are. Really has never really been able to complete a campaign of anything, but the most races I've seen him do was 12 races in Ultimate Cup last year, and he won half of them. So kid's clearly got some talent. As Kahacek again manages to set a purple middle sector here and through the final couple of corners, driving up towards the timing line. Is this going to be a further improvement for Kahacek? It is by half a second. My goodness, that was a blistering final sector from the pole, and he does a 1:23.737. Remember, he's been on pole position in all bar one of the races so far this year. When we're talking about the pole position, we're of course not including the reverse grid poles in that. So of the 5 qualifying sessions that we've done, he's topped 4 of them.
Yeah, and arguably, if you look back to Portimao in the first race, remember they had the issue with the carbon clutch inside the car. You know, you could suggest that Timothy Kahacek probably would have won back at Portimao, as we watch Ed Pearson go fourth fastest as well. Kahacek, though, has found yet more time and has gone purple again inside the first sector. He continues to strive for more here at Red Bull Ring and looking to place an even higher deficit between himself and Michael Shin. Coming into this weekend, he is currently level with Yevon David in number of wins. They've both taken 4, 2 second places apiece as well. The only difference, Yevon David has 3 third place finishes and Kahacek has 2. But now he's looking to try and levy perhaps yet a further pole position in his favour. 4 in his pocket so far this campaign, and now stretching through Red Bull Baville curve, looking to find yet more time with 3 minutes and 36 to go. Purple in the first sector, no improvement in the middle sector, but enough in the final sector to once again grow the gap with a very pensive looking Giuseppe Mazzotti. He's not moving a muscle until that timer hits 0. But Kahacek once again stretching the gap to Shin to over 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, found another 1/4 of a second on that lap. So just great stuff here from Kahacek. He's absolutely flying out there at the moment, but I imagine we're going to see big front right lock up there for Kahacek. That's the lap ruined into turn 3. I imagine we are about to see the likes of Michael Shin and Yevon David start to put in their first push laps as Diego Della Torre manages to bridge the gap somewhat, just up under 0.4 of a second as he goes second fastest. Garfias up to third as well. This is Yevon David, who has gone fastest in the middle sector and is just 86 thousandths of a second away from Timothy Kahacek. The engineer Kai Degenhardt watches on as well.
Keeping his beady eyes on the data at the moment, and for good reason. Obviously, they're trying to look for a loophole to try and surpass this pole that sits on top right now. 86 thousandths between them.
I think that was Matthias Gruner on the left-hand side there as well. Diego Della Torre's race engineer. Worked with Levente Reves last year.
Slight lock-up there for Yevon David again at turn 3. Not obviously for David again. Obviously, we mentioned Kahacek earlier on getting locked up at turn 3 as well. Obviously, the driver's trying to take it as late as they can. They want to maximise the speed coming through Remus, but it's very easy for things to go awry when you reach that heavy braking zone and immediately turn to the right. It's a very aggressive right-hander, and then couple that with the elevation incline as well. It's just so much for the drivers to deal with as Yevon David finds yet another personal best inside the first sector. Of course, Kahacek now looking to try and strive for more. He's very wary of Yevon David's pace. As we said before, these two are tying up for the title, along with Michael Shin as well, who's also not too far away and only 2/10 back on Kahacek right now. And it's now purple in the favour of Michael Shin. He's gone purple in the middle sector, personal best in the first, so no longer is it a 2-car affair. We can enter a third as well, because the man in third right now, the Korean Michael Shin, is now going to look to displace Timothy Kahacek, flirting so close to danger there on the escape coming out of Red Bull Mobile curve, but second fastest is all he will go, and the top 3 are now all within 86 thousandths. Remarkable.
And that's the top 3 in the championship, of course, as well. Kahacek, Shin and David. It's great stuff, isn't it? And looking forward to seeing what kind of punches they start swinging at each other in the 3 races as well. That is a mouth-watering prospect. 1 minute to go left on the clock. Well, like there was a little bit of smoke in the air there. Personal best coming in from Diego Della Torre. Oh, that is a big snap for Everett Stack, I believe that was. No, that was Diego Della Torre taking a quick trip through the gravel, and one of the Nielsen cars doing the same thing at turn 8 as well, and that was Ed Pearson. So currently 8th fastest for Pearson. It's all coming undone a little bit. Needs to find one more good lap in there, and the one he's on at the moment is not it. 21.9 in the first sector. It's 0.3 off of what Kahacek's been doing, and so I'm afraid that the pace is not quite there for Pearson at the moment.
No, and it definitely looks like things are starting to peter out now with, well, we're in the final 10 seconds now. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to hit the checkered flag now, and it's all going to come. Look at this from Everett Stack. Yeah, the middle sector, 24 thousandths away, and he's clearly pushing and really extending over the, I would say track limits might have been a concern there, but he may have lost time regardless. Across the line for Everett Stack. Will he improve from 6th fastest? No, lost all of it coming through the final sector. Unfortunately, after that error coming through Rint Corner and down in towards Red Bull Mobile Curve. Heartbreak for Everett Stack. That could have been a front row.
That would have been a front row, 100%. Let's take a look at this again. He comes in with so much speed through the Rint Curve and just loses the back end. And yeah, it doesn't really matter that he lost time. I think it would have been track limits anyway. But wow, that came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Kahacek on the final lap as well has put in a personal best in the middle sector. So he's now looking to grow the gap to Michael Shin at this point, just to ensure and rubber stamp his position up at the top. And it's at 1:23.501. He was actually 5 thousandths off his best time on that last lap. So no improvement for Kahacek. But nonetheless, he'll be happy with this result. Michael Shin has come into the pits. It will be Timek Kahacek on pole for the 5th time this season. A remarkable campaign. Arguably could have led to more wins. But now with 3 rounds to go until we hit the checkered flag for the 2025 season campaign, the advantage is in his hands. And he will, of course, I suppose, be confident in knowing that Yevon David, who currently sits second and just behind him by 17 points in the championship so far, will be starting on the second row. But don't count out Michael Shin, 3rd in the championship, very much part of this championship fight. He only sits a point behind Yevon David in the championship so far, and will be on the front row with Kahacek. It's Kahacek though on pole position with a 1:23.501 ahead of Michael Shin. Those two will share the front row for race 1 this afternoon. Yevon David in 3rd, another championship competitor. The top 3 will meet on the grid. Diego Della Torre in 4th, and also joining David on the second row with Jose Garfias on his return to Red Bull Ring, back at a track where he began his Euroformula campaign at the, well, of course, back in 2024. Everett Stack 6th, Alessandro Famolaro in 7th, Ed Pearson in 8th, Luca Viscerano in 9th, and Francesco Soldavini down in 10th place. We then have Carly Baptista down in 11th, and Paolo Brajnik, of course, representing the Gold Class Envy Racing, down in 12th place as well. So that brings an end to the qualifying session for the weekend here in the Styrian Mountains, and it's Timek Kahacek back on top, looking to chase a 5th race win this afternoon, and starting on pole is a nice place to start. The young Pole certainly has become somewhat of an icon for his home nation here in the Formula 3 machinery, and now looking to levy the championship furthermore in his favour. He does still lead the championship, as we have said, 230 points, and he could grow that yet again here this afternoon. But of course, it's a long road to the checkered flag, and bear in mind we have 2 other races, of course, to bring you across the weekend. He has to be inch perfect now for the rest of the season now, Chris, in order to lift that title.
Yeah, he's going to be under an awful lot of pressure. Top 3 in the championship, starting in the top 3 on the grid for race 1 this afternoon, and that is a hugely mouth-watering prospect, and a 5th pole position of the season for Timek Kahacek. He has been the king of qualifying as his engineer. Quick exchange, just tried to listen in there, quite. I think the conversation would be in Italian anyway, so we need a translator. So, yeah, great stuff again. Also, great stuff for Luca Viscerano, 9th on his first weekend in Formula 3 level machinery. Not bad going there at all for Luca, but I do think we've got to keep an eye out in these races for the likes of Ed Pearson from 8th on the grid and Everett Stack from 6th. We know they've got more pace than that.
Yeah, I mean, Alessandro Famolaro also with a very decent run in qualifying too, only 8/10 away from Timek Kahacek in his first run in the Euroformula Open Championship, and obviously Everett Stack just in front of him as well. Incidentally, obviously Timek Kahacek becomes the first pole to take qualifying pole here, and he's with Alfredo.
Timek, we are getting used to see you in pole position. So it's the 5th, I think, out of 6.
Yeah, another good start on the weekend. You know, yesterday practice went well. We went both times P1, and today we converted that into pole. So, yeah, really happy. The car's been great. I really enjoyed this track as well. You know, today's nice weather, so yeah, hopefully a nice end to the weekend with 3 good races too.
And how is the Red Bull ring for you?
It's great. Obviously, not much experience on this track, but I really enjoy it. You know, I think the scenery here, the mountains and stuff is really exciting, and yeah, I really enjoy the track. The track layout is really fun, and obviously in this car, which is super quick, in that last sector, second sector, you can really push it. So it's great fun.
Good. More fun later. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, didn't he just pull it off? Phenomenal performance from Timet Kaharczyk, much to the delight of Giuseppe Mazzotti. We go racing this afternoon, but from all of us here at Styria, it's goodbye.